Welcome back to the Daily Drum on WHUR and Sirius XM Channel 141. I'm Harold Fisher. Summer vacation for nearly 50,000 public school students officially ended yesterday for DC youngsters. The day was filled with a lot of excitement, some anxiety, but also plenty of hope for a year filled with learning, safety, and school pride. How will DCPS achieve its goals of improving test scores, hiring and retaining more educators, as well as keeping schools safe and build on parental involvement? Those questions and much more for my guest, Dr. Louis Ferebee, DC Schools Chancellor. Chancellor Ferebee, thank you so much for joining the conversation. Happy school year.
Thank you, Harold. It's another exciting school year. We're really thrilled to begin the 24-25 school year. Had a great day yesterday on our first day, and we're rounding out day 2 and looking forward to receiving our youngest learners. They actually start school on Thursday. That is our 3-year-olds and 4-year-old in our early child education programs.
How was yesterday? It seems, no school first day is perfect, but we didn't hear a lot of reports of any potholes, speed bumps, or snafus. How do you think it compared to last year or even the year before?
It was a great day, Errol. Actually, if you look at it, like we didn't have a lot of registration issues, enrollment with families, didn't have many facility issues, transportation issues. So a lot of preparation and work went into the summer that produced what I thought was a great day for families on yesterday. Hadn't heard a lot from families in terms of concerns, and if there were some issues, they were quickly addressed. So I'm excited about that. It's something we've been refining. Returning back from the pandemic each year, we've taken a step forward in the way that we prepare for opening the schools, and it's nowhere what it was, when we were, masking, vaccinations, all those things. So it's a different environment, but we've gotten a lot better with it. And again, I can't say enough about the preparation for day 1.
A couple of facts which you are well familiar with. You've got 7 new projects and upgrades related to, renovations, more than $400 million. You're getting some elementary school students that are testing at or above grade level for reading, 35% testing above that for math. So we could go through the numbers. Certainly there are some improvements, absenteeism and the like, still an issue. Your thoughts about some of those numbers?
Yeah, I think for us, we really have a lot to build upon with attendance. I think everything starts with the ability to provide our scholars with, the optimal learning experience. Them being in school is critical, and not only attendance, but also students being on time. So I'm really pleased with the fact that we reduced chronic absenteeism, we improved our in-seat attendance, and the targeted efforts we had on our 6th graders, which was a grade level where we saw some challenges with that transition, all were trending in the right direction. In terms of student achievement with test scores, we saw record performance among our youngest learners in kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade. And then for our 3rd graders on our state assessment, we saw almost a 3 percentage point gain in their reading proficiency, which I think says a lot about the work that we've done around the science of reading and the types of experiences that we're creating for students. We also saw some progress in math, but we know that there's still a lot more we need to do with math, because math was one of the grade levels and content areas where we saw the greatest decline coming out of the pandemic and remote learning. So we have focused a lot of our professional learning for educators and staff on math and how we incorporate math across other content areas such as science and social studies and physical education and the arts. But we, again, have a lot to be proud of, but we're not satisfied. We still have more work to do. And I think where you were in school When we were in remote learning, also we are finding is an impact on your supports that you need and the types of interventions that have been prescribed to support students in their recovery.
Do you have any uh, big picture priorities or goals for the 24-25 school year?
We do. So we're continuing to lean into our strategic priorities on students being prepared for what's next, particularly with transition. So that students transition from pre-K to kindergarten, kindergarten to first grade, our third graders, and now those third graders transition to fourth grade. And then in sixth grade, last year was our inaugural year, what we call our sixth grade academy. And we focus again there because middle school we were seeing was a great challenge for our students. And so we had a lot to build upon there. We saw over 90% of our sixth graders pass their core courses last year, approved attendance, and also a greater sense of well-being and connectivity to their adults and staff and their peers. And that we believe that sense of belonging really helps students be the best version of themselves, especially in the challenging years of middle school. And then our ninth graders, we want that transition also to be strong. And we saw a record number of students that were at promotion level where they completed all their coursework to be promoted from ninth grade to 10th grade. With our high school students, we want to continue to expand opportunities for career technical education for students to earn certifications and credentials in high school so they are ready to go to work right out of graduation. And then more students earning dual credit and earning advanced placement courses where they've taken the course and passed the assessment. So really pleased we have more students that are earning dual enrollment. I believe it's one of the best deals in town where you can take college credit and no cost to the family and start to build your college journey when you're in high school. And then with advanced placement, at least half of our high school students are taking the AP course, and we saw a 6% increase in our AP proficiency. So again, those are credits that students can also use in their college journey.
Let's drill down a little bit on that, the VOTEC skill thing for a moment. As you know, let's say over the past decade or so, there was a shortage of those kinds of vocational skills, those things that would lead to, things like HVAC, plumbing, and, some of those skills that could translate into high-paying jobs or even lead people into entrepreneurship. As you suggested, these kinds of VOTEC things are coming back. Was it difficult to bring that back when, for years, there's been so much there's so much emphasis on getting young people to go to college?
Yes and no. I think for us, it was changing the mindset for our students and families and even staff that it is not, a one or the other scenario. It's a both and in. So you can pursue, voc ed and also have a successful college journey, or you can go directly into the workforce and then also earn your higher ed credentials. So I think clearing the path where it's a both and scenario was important. I think secondly was creating the appropriate infrastructure. So for example, we have Phelps Academy where we're able to simulate the best in class and latest HVAC systems, whether it be electrical or gas, for example. We have the ability to simulate a lot of other features for electrical work, plumbing right there on campus. And so creating, I think, the most relevant and up-to-date spaces where students can have hands-on experiences with the equipment was another area that we focus on. We have another great example of that in the Advanced Technical Center, and this is focused on cybersecurity and health careers. We've created all of the equipment, spaces, the technology students need to simulate what's happening, whether they're, preparing to be a nurse or whether they're preparing to be, in the cyber tech field. So there's a lot that we've done to create the appropriate space for people to learn those skills. And then I think finally having the expertise, training our educators, partnering with employers to create the appropriate learning experiences so students can excel in those careers. So those are the three areas I think that come to mind is, having the right mindset, the tools that students need, and then the expertise to help develop those skills.
Let's talk about school safety. The new superintendent for Montgomery County said his number one priority is school safety. He's admitting that it should be learning. That is obviously a reality for all school districts across the country. And as you know, there was a very serious safety issue at Dunbar during the last school year where a student was grazed by a bullet because of the chaos and foolishness that happened outside of the school. So my question is, how do you balance school safety and learning?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think we're all focused on safety, right? Safety remains paramount. In order for students to have the appropriate learning environment, like they have to feel safe. And so for us, that is continuing what we know works. We have a phenomenal partnership with the Metropolitan Police Department. I think it's one of the true benefits of our governance structure, where we have the support of Mayor Bowser. We have the collaboration with our neighborhood organizations and also the city's neighborhood organizations and the parks and recreations, our public libraries. So there's so many government entities where we all come together to ensure that our students have a safe experience to and from school. The situation you mentioned last year with Dunbar, before school started or as schools were starting, and what we learned from that experience is that we need to minimize areas around schools where students are gathering and there could be a potential conflict. And so one way that we address that is our Safe Passes initiative, where this year we've added additional locations to that particular portfolio of services where there are adults supervising students on their way to school and as they leave school. And then intel, getting as much information as we can from students and families when there is a potential conflict in the community. And our ability to provide conflict resolution on site at school has been a great resource for us. And last year we saw a decline in confrontations and conflicts on campus because we were able to intervene, get people in the room, talk through the beef, what's happening, and then get to a resolution that works for both parties. And so we want to continue to do more of that, but we have to know when those conflicts exist. And so I think, I remind families that let's all work together on this issue of safety. And if something doesn't feel right or you heard something or see something, please let us know so we can be very proactive.
Are parents receptive when we do know about the realities of street codes, about snitches getting stitches and the like? How do you fight against that in keeping schools safe?
Well, we always try to remind everyone that we are committed to, when we need to, remain, very confidential and ensure that reports are anonymous. We don't want someone to be retaliated upon based on, sharing information. But we also want, students to feel comfortable, which is one of the reasons we have, a hotline where you can call in anytime when you need support or if there's a concern that you have. We want those resources to be leveraged. One of the things that we have this year, a lot of schools across the country are looking at cell phone use. So this year, all of our middle schools will have prohibited phone use during the school day. And that's something we'll continue to look at as, a strategy. And several of our high schools also collect phones or have a process so students aren't using those devices during the day. So I think—
Hold on for 1 second, Dr. Ferebee, because I do want to talk about that a little bit more, and I want people to be able to hear all of that. We're going to take a really quick break, but the original Quiet Storm is next on WHUR. I'm Harold Fisher. This conversation about the new DC public school year continues on Sirius XM channel 141 in just a few seconds. Welcome back to the Daily Drum on Sirius XM Channel 141. I'm Harold Fisher. We continue our discussion about the new school year for the DC public school system. My guest is Dr. Louis Ferebee, DC School Chancellor. Dr. Ferebee, before the break, you were talking about the cell phone policy. And I think this is really important because, as you know, there has been a lot of discussion, particularly in Fairfax County and more broadly in the Commonwealth of Virginia about cell phone policies. And for a lot of people, the jury is still out on the collection of them. Should they have them? We're talking about the issue of God forbid, school shootings and the like. So please reiterate what the policy is in DC for the various and sundry school levels, and your thoughts overall about the effectiveness of the cell phone policies.
So right now, we are collaborating directly with our school leaders on the best approach as relates to cell phones. Our instructional superintendent for middle schools, Mr. Harry Hughes, has collaborated with our middle school principals, and there was a collective decision that it was best interest for us to collect cell phones for our middle school age students during the day. It had been piloted a year or two, and now it is something we're implementing across the board. I had opportunity to meet with some middle school students last year as a part of a small focus group. And what we did hear and what I heard directly from those students were they were more focused. They were less likely to be engaged with their peers during the day in critical learning time. So I think it could potentially be an enhancement to teaching and learning and also safety, because we do know that there tends to be a rise in conflict as a result of social media use, especially in terms it relates to school. So I think there is some potential there. I don't believe that it's conclusive yet, that, this is, the panacea for some of the safety concerns that we're seeing, but I think it is promising. We have also had a number of high schools over the years that have this practice in place, but it is not a uniform decision yet in high school because of the needs that we know our high school students have. Many of them hold jobs, many of them have obligations outside of school. So we do want to balance that, but it is something that we're looking at and we'll continue to evaluate.
Interesting. The other issue as it relates to safety, there was an article in the Washington Post today about the Vision Zero program in the district, where it has not been as effective in the reduction of pedestrian related or other kinds of car accidents. And according to this report in the Washington Post, the lion's share of the incidents of injuries happened east of the river. More specifically, as it relates to school zones, how are you trying to address pedestrian safety, particularly for children walking to school, when drivers just don't seem to care?
Yeah, this was a challenge for us coming outside of the pandemic. I think, being out of school for about a year and a half and not seeing young people, not having to worry about that, people were somewhat driving freely. And what we saw is there needs to be a level set and expectation when we started back school. One strategy we start the school year with is our Slow Down campaign. So again, thanks to the leadership of Mayor Bowser, as a government team, we were out yesterday reminding everyone to slow down in hotspot areas, and that's something we'll do throughout the year. But in addition to that, we've also collaborated with the Department of Transportation in DC to look at the allocation and the use of our crossing guards. Were also a critical element of how we keep students safe to and from school. But I think we got to also remind just families to continue to be mindful of just safety and speed around schools, because in some cases it's families picking up or dropping off students to school and maybe over the speed limit or potentially ignoring stop signs. The good news in DC, we also have a strong safety element with our cameras for speed and stoplights and now stop sign, which I think is another element for us in terms of safety and protocols. And then what we continue to ask families to be also very conscientious of is students who are riding the bus. So when that safety arm comes out, ensure that you stop and you recognize that there are movement among young people in that area, either getting on the bus or getting off the bus. But these are all reminders that we just all need to have top of mind as we think about safety for our students, and something we'll continue to monitor throughout the school year. And if there are hotspot areas, we'll have the support of the Metropolitan Police Department to lean in as well.
Where are you with your teachers? Do you have enough? How many more, if not, do you need?
Yeah, so we had a strong hiring year this year where we are down in our vacancy rate in every category of positions in DCPS, which is great. I think it represents there's a lot of interest in working in DCPS, and we've been able to retain many highly qualified educators. So we started yesterday with about 70 something vacancies, many of which we were filling in for people that were on leave of absence. So they'll be back, but we needed someone to fill in until they're able to return, which represents about 1% of our teacher workforce. So I would safely say we had 99% of our teacher vacancies filled, which is exciting. And like I said earlier, in many of the other areas, we were really high on number of positions filled, and much better than where we were in the past.
So to what do you attribute this positive news, particularly when DCPS is competing with the other jurisdictions?
Well, our recruitment team has worked really hard with building up a strong talent pool for our principals to select from. So we saw an increase in the number of teacher applicants and the number of people who have expressed interest in DCPS. We also are very competitive with compensation, which continues to be something that we're really proud of, to be one of the top paying school districts in the nation. And we will remain at the top, I believe, as we're in negotiation right now with our teacher union, a new contract. But we still are encouraging people to think about DCPS as a place to work. So we're all in the business for hiring. So if you want to learn more about how to work in DCPS, go to our website. That is joindcps.dc.gov. Again, that's joindcps.dc.gov to learn more. But I'm excited about the applicant pool that we were able to build over the summer.
Where are you with a new contract with the Washington Teachers Union? Are you near a deal? It's been, a year or so, and that has not been without consternation, at least on the side of union leadership, about how the contracts have gone.
We're close, Harold. We're probably closer now than we've been before over the summer, but you know how this works. When you get really close, that's when you get into the finer details of the agreement, and sometimes it takes a little bit longer to finish the deal out. But I think it's fair to say that what we've offered is generous, and it represents a commitment to our educators and recognizes their hard work. And I'm really hopeful and optimistic that we'll have something done soon that we can celebrate with our teachers and be really proud of. But until then, we'll continue to operate on the current contract we have, which represents significant increases in compensation, and we hope to do more.
Do you expect that you'll have something within the next month or so, or at least before the end of the year?
Well, if I was writing the book, it'd be tomorrow. Every day that goes by, I get a little bit more anxiety about the issue, but I also understand in these, negotiations, it requires both parties to make concessions, to reach agreement. So the WTU, the Washington Teacher Union, has made some of those concessions, and we will continue to do so as well. So I expect it to be sooner rather than later, but I don't have a crystal ball on the exact date.
Let's talk a little bit more about truancy and absenteeism. It remains one of the sharpest and deepest thorns in the side of DCPS, and something I'm sure that you wish wasn't an issue. And there are multi factors that are contributing to these kinds of things. What do you believe the factors are, and how are you going to attempt to address them this year?
Well, I think across the nation, this is a challenge. And, the muscle to build back, regular attendance in school has been a challenge. I think it's been a challenge because we have more people working from home. And, when you have more people at home, there's a tendency to not get young people to school every day. And, it's something we've all been working hard on. And like I said earlier, we're moving in the right direction. Every data point that we measure, we made progress last year. I think the work that we did with our sixth graders is really important because what we see is those habits begin early with absenteeism, and they only get progressively worse over time, particularly students transitioning to middle school and high school. So we want to curb that more as students transition to sixth grade, and I'm really thrilled about the progress we saw last year with our sixth graders. Now, we're also implementing a new pilot program this year in collaboration with the DC Department of Human Services. What we found is there is a need to do more case management work with select families where there is a history of chronic absenteeism. And so there are 5 schools in DC that will be piloting this new model where the Department of Human Services will lean in more with the family to determine, what types of supports they may need, whether that be, with housing or other needs that the family may have that is preventing the student or the students in their household to getting to school on time. Because in many cases, these aren't young people issues. These are oftentimes family issues or related to the adults in the household. And we know that part of this work is supporting them as well, along with the young person in their household. So we're going to start this year strong. We're reminding everybody that every day counts. And I think, again, the work we've done last year will only get better this year. And I'm excited about the pilot program.
Let's talk about some health issues. COVID is still with us, and the issues surrounding it are very, very real. Has there been any new development of policy regarding COVID-19? And we are seeing, more cases. Obviously, it is not as horrific as it was during the pandemic, but still a very real issue.
It is an issue. It's something that we monitor regularly with the DC Department of Health. Everything that we do will be in alignment with their guidance to us in public schools in their city. What I would advise family is to pay close attention to what's coming out of the CDC. They are reminding everyone that there are free testing kits that members of the community can get access to at no cost. And then they're reminding families also that it is a good idea to re-up on vaccinations. So I think those are 2 strategies that, have proven to be effective in our journey with COVID and will continue to be as we go into this school year. But I also want to remind families that immunizations are just as important. So we're asking families to be sure that all of their students are up to date on their shots. And also remind everyone that the flu is still out here, and we are hearing that, this could be a challenging winter and fall for us, not only with COVID, but other, illnesses as well. So we want families to protect us and protect themselves as much as possible.
I want to go back to some of the improvements. I'll give you a minute or two to do a little bragging, because infrastructure for all school systems is an important thing. You've got some new buildings and some new tech, and that new tech is really important to keep up with, school systems who may have access to more resources, more room. What will students see this year that perhaps they've not seen in the past several years?
Well, we definitely take a victory lap around what we've been able to accomplish. I think it starts with a very passionate and committed leader in our Mayor Bowser, and the types of resources that have been allocated to our facilities and also technology. This is a record year for us. I can't think of the last time we had 5 new modernizations. And when DC Public Schools does a modernization, we go big. We have partnered with the Department of General Services that manages all of our construction projects, and they've delivered on 5 phenomenal facilities. Yesterday, we opened early childhood facility at Minor Elementary School. Had an opportunity to tour several of the sites, and we will have various opening ceremonies. But we do a great job of blending, some of the historic structures of our city with our new facilities. But students get best in class artwork, lighting, and many of the facilities are very energy efficient and meet many green standards that are out there for construction today. So lots to celebrate there. And then we have what we call small capital projects, where we've added enhancements to facilities. For example, the mayor and I joined our teachers at Allisdale Middle School for the first day of staff returning, and they've got a great new addition. They got a great new field space. So play space is another area that you see us do really good work, and we've got Garfield Elementary School in Ward 8. I'm really excited about. I got a chance to tour Dorothy Height Elementary School in Ward 4 with the mayor, Whitlock Elementary School in Ward 7. The mayor and I toured Francis Education Campus, and then Minor, as I mentioned yesterday, is in Ward 7. So you can see all throughout our city, we are updating spaces, and we also have additions we made to MacArthur, which is also in Ward 2, and then we also have an addition that we made to one of our other schools at Allisdale in Ward 3 I mentioned earlier. So excited about everything that we've done in facilities, and we will have a new slate of schools where we'll start working on over the next couple years as we continue to open more new spaces for our young people.
Since you've been here, where have you seen the largest student population growth?
It's a great question, Harold. I think you mentioned earlier that there's been, more traffic situation with students in, east of the river. Mm-hmm. And the reality is we have more school age students in Ward 7 and Ward 8. So, I think that's a driving factor. But if you look at student growth, I'd have to brag a bit on Coolidge High School. When I started in the 2018-19 school year, there were maybe not even 200 students maybe at Coolidge High School, and they've grown from 200 to 300 students to over 1,000, and one of our largest high schools in the city. And they're on a road to being not only a large high school in the city, but also high performing as well. So shout out to Principal Bright. She's done a phenomenal job with building the right culture there. We opened an early college program with Trinity Washington there, where students earn their associate's degree in college credit. They have outstanding extracurriculars and athletic programs. So people better pay attention to Coolidge. I know that it's one of our bellwethers here in the city, and I'm excited to see. And what we see is it's also impacting their feeder pattern. So they have Ida B. Well Middle School that's right next door, and then also Whittier Elementary. And they're one of our schools that is in their XQ redesign. And so all of our high schools have an opportunity to compete for a redesign. And this will be their first year implementation, along with Ron Brown. They're in their first year. And we also have HD Woodson. So we're excited to see what these schools will accomplish with a new way of students teaching, or I would say new way of teachers teaching students learning in these schools.
Talk to me about special education and students with other kinds of special needs, those who may have physical handicaps. Every time I talk to a school leader over the past 17 years since I've been here, that has been one of the biggest complaints or concerns from parents, not having enough resources for special education.
Yeah, so for us, I'll give you some highlights and challenges. I'll start with challenges. So, the expertise that you need to be effective in those environments, we have a great staff, but we're always looking to add additional people to the team. And so I think staffing and, whether that's the educator, the paraprofessional in the classroom, having those individuals is critical to success in supporting those students with individualized educational plans, also known as IEPs. Now, the bright spots, the resources. And so clearly, as we mentioned earlier, we've done a lot with the physical space, right? So having all the tools in the classroom that support the students in their needs has been something that I've been proud to see us expand. And if you look at our data on achievement, you do see where our students with IEPs are making progress, along with our students that are multilingual learners. So those are two special populations we paid a lot of attention to academically, and we're excited to see them progress. And last year, I was also really pleased in seeing a lot of the great work happening at River Terrace, which is our campus for our most medically fragile students, and the care and the support from the adults there was very impressive to see. And I'm really pleased that we provide that level of care for those students who need it.
Mm-hmm. Where do you see the need for the most improvement overall?
I would go back to what I said about math. Like we know that there's a longer journey for us. There's a higher mountain to climb with mathematics, and so it's important for us to have best in class curriculum. We've changed our curriculum for our youngest learners. We'll be in our second year of new curriculum for pre-K 3 and pre-K 4. I think the strong foundation in numeracy is so important. And we want families to be a part of the math solution as well, in the way that they think about math that's in the household and our everyday tasks. And then, the achievement gaps between our Black and brown students and our white students is certainly something that we've been keeping our eye on the year in terms of equity and how we support our students who have, haven't had the best experiences. So we want to be sure that we continue to lift them up.
Do you have enough teachers who are bilingual or multilingual? I mean, the floor is English, Spanish, but certainly you are probably seeing students who their first language isn't English, but it's not Spanish either.
Yeah, so we have a variety of languages. You imagine DC is a true melting pot, so many languages spoken, and we haven't had challenges with the staffing. Our language access division has been really great with their supports and recruitment. But the way I look at this, Harold, is the types of support for the family. Last year I got a chance to visit with our language access team, and they were hosting a fair for families with clothing supplies, health information. And so I think what's really important is connecting with the family, especially if English is not the primary language in the household. But from the staffing perspective, we've done a really great job with recruiting. From time to time, there may be some world language teachers that we may need. And if you speak another language, and you want to work for DCPS, you don't have to be just a teacher. We want multilingual staff members from every aspect of our organization. So again, don't forget to go to that website, joindcps.dc.gov to learn more.
If you had your druthers, if money was not an issue, and where would you? What's your vision for DCPS for the next 5 years? For a superintendent, chancellor, CEO, for the head of a DC public school system, 5 years is a lifetime. I mean, arguably,
it's
you've been here a while.
Yeah, I've been here for a while. It's been truly an honor. This group coming up that'll be graduating, going back from 2019 to 2025. I think that's 6-7 years of graduating classes from DCPS, and ultimately the goalpost is what's in our strategic plan and our capital commitment, that students are prepared for what's next after graduation. And I'm proud in those 5 or 6 years in DCPS, each year the number of students that have graduated college and career ready has steadily grown, and it's grown by over 10 percentage points. And the class of 2024, I think, will live up to that same trend, and more students graduating prepared for college and career. I encourage everybody to learn more about our strategic priorities, which is our roadmap for excellence for the next 5 years. They can go to the website dcpsstrong.com, and that's where we house all of our information about our strategic priorities. And the anchors there is, one, students continue to thrive academically, students feeling connected to their school, and then students being prepared for what's next. And hopefully what you heard today is a lot of what we've done over the past year and what we've been thinking about for this upcoming year represents those strategic priorities. But I want students to be prepared for what's next, because, Harold, if we do our work really well, a student will be able to graduate and take care of themselves and their families. And ultimately, that's what we want to see across our city.
Mm. Well, Dr. Lewis Ferebee, Chancellor of the DC Public School System, thank you so much again. Good luck in the new school year. I hope it goes well for you, students, teachers, staff, and let's also hope that it is a safe one. Thank you again for your time, sir.
Thank you, sir.
That is the Daily Drum for this Tuesday, August 27th. I'm Harold Fisher.